when you came out of the Bilco doors on the right side of the house, what path of travel did you go when you left the house in States 49? I'm going to put that back up there.
So I walked along the house line, so in that grassy area between the white and the blue truck.
Okay. And then you walked down the driveway?
Yeah, but not too far. I'd say I was sitting in the middle of it, standing.
Okay, and so you didn't walk all the way down the driveway?
No.
Why didn't you walk all the way down the driveway?
Because I already saw there's some people on the road, and I didn't want to go and get involved.
How many people would you say were outside at that moment?
There was about outside or by the car?
Well, how about by the car?
Probably about 10-ish people.
And how many people were outside in total, do you think?
Probably 20-ish.
So there were around 10 people near the car and another 10 people maybe?
Yeah, more people in the driveway.
And did you, can you describe what the interaction was with regards to the people who were near the car?
So I just heard bickering back and forth. People were yelling and it was loud. I did not hear exactly what it was, but that's all I was able to pick up from it, just arguing.
And did you observe anything about, well, withdrawn, do you know who went and approached the car when you were outside?
No, I do not recall exactly who.
Okay. But they were your friends?
Yes, they were my friends.
And do you recall if when they had this bickering back and forth with the individuals in the car, do you recall what, if anything, they were doing? Did they do anything to the car?
Nothing that I saw, no.
Nothing that you saw. Do you recall if anything was being done from the car towards your friends?
No, I do not recall if anything.
At some point in time, well, withdrawn, how long did the back and forth bickering last for?
Probably a good 5 minutes.
And at some point, did the car leave?
Yes, the car sped away very fast.
Can you describe what happened as the car sped away?
So the car drove down the road towards that way, and it sped off like full speed, full throttle.
And if I'm pointing to States 1 that's behind you, I think you have a pointer near you. Can you show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where it sped off to?
So it was here, right here,
Yep.
and it sped off this way.
Okay. So if the record can reflect, he was motioning down Laurel Glen Drive towards Farmhouse Lane.
Record shall so reflect.
Okay, and at some point in time, where were you when you saw the car drive away?
When the car was driving away, I was still in the driveway in this area.
Okay, and when the car drove down the street, did you move at that point to see where the car had gone?
No, I went back into the house at this point.
And when you went back into the house, how'd you go back into the house?
Through the Bilco doors the way I came in.
Okay, and when the car sped off down the street and you went back into the house, what did you do when you went back inside the house?
I was just talking to my friends like, what was going on out there? Like, it's over now. Let's go back inside and hang out.
So did you hang out inside for a little bit?
Yeah, I would say 2 minutes.
And were you guys drinking still?
No, there was no drink at this point. It was so brief between the incident that went outside.
Prior to you going back inside the house, do you recall seeing the car drive back towards the house at any point?
No.
Okay. At some point in time, you say you're hanging out inside the house. Do you exit the house again?
Yes, I do.
And why do you do that?
They said they were down the road just sitting waiting, and that people didn't leave yet, and they were still on the road. So I went outside to see what was going on, and I walked out through the Bilco doors.
And when you went out through when you went out through the Bilco doors, what path of travel did you go? If you can show me in States 49, or yeah, you can use that too.
Yeah. So I went out this way. I went along the tree line here, and then I was right here.
Okay, so if we're looking at States 49, then you walked along the tree line here, and you were kind of on the side of the road near this red bush where your car was parked?
Correct.
Okay, and you looked down the street?
Yeah, I looked down the street, yes.
And what, if anything, did you observe down the street?
I just saw a bunch of people on the road, and it immediately just made me think, what is going on? And I just didn't want to entertain it, so I went back inside again.
Prior to the car going down the street, did you recognize anybody in the car from your vantage point in the driveway?
Yes, when I was in the driveway, I saw the kid Jack Snyder was driving it, and Lido Valle was in the back seat behind the driver's seat.
And when you say Lido Valle, does he have another name?
Yes, his real name's Raul Valle.
And is Raul Valle present in the courtroom today?
Yes, he is.
And what is he wearing?
He's wearing a black suit with a black tie.
Can you point him out for the...
Yes, that's him right there.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant in this case?
Record can reflect the witness identified, Mr. Valle. Thank you.
And so when you noticed, are those the only people you noticed in the car?
Yes, those were the only people I was able to notice.
Do you know whether or not there were other people in the car?
Yes, there was other people in the car.
But you couldn't see who they were?
I could not see who, no.
So now the car's down the street. You're watching down the street, and you're thinking to yourself, "What's going on?"
Yeah, I was like, what is this going on right now?
Could you tell who was outside the car down the street?
No.
Do you know whether or not anybody from your group of friends was down the street?
There were people, but I was not able to identify who.
Okay. And how long would you say you were watching what was going on down the street?
Maybe 30 seconds.
And after 30 seconds, what did you do?
I went back inside to the Bilco doors.
And when you went back inside, what were you doing inside at that point?
The same thing, just kind of talking to the people about what's going on and saying that they're still out there. People are just in the road.
Okay. And how long would you say you were inside at that point?
Probably another 2 to 5 minutes.
And at some point in time, did you exit the house for any reason?
Yes, I later exited through the Bilco doors.
And why did you do that?
I heard they came back and they were back in front of the house parked.
And when you left the house, did you go outside the Bilco doors again?
Yes, I did.
And when you left the Bilco doors, tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what path of travel you walked outside the house.
So I walked out through the Bilco doors here and went right to under this tree area.
Okay, so if we're looking at States 49 again, you were under this tree area here,
Correct?
right? And that would be in the area in front of the blue truck in States 49.
Yes.
At some point in time, did you make your way over anywhere else in States 49?
No, not until a fight broke out.
What did you observe when you walked out of the house on May 14th of 2022?
I noticed that there was a group of Sheldon kids face to face with who was Raul Valle and Tyler Silva.
And do you recall what they were wearing that night?
Who, my friends or the other kids?
What was Tyler Silva wearing?
He was wearing a blue, like a baby blue jersey.
And do you recall what the defendant was wearing?
Same color, but a t-shirt.
I'm going to show you States 6, just so we understand what you're talking about here. Can you pinpoint where you were standing when you observed in State 6, when you observed the initial?
Yeah, so I was standing in front of the blue truck by that mulch pile.
Okay, so if I point right here,
Yes, sir, right there.
so if the record can reflect in front of the blue truck in State 6, there is a brown mulch pile just to the left of the red bush, but obviously it's behind the red bush.
Cordell noted on the record. Thank you.
So in regards to State 6, can you tell us where the defendant and De Silva were standing?
Yeah, they were standing to the road side of the red bush facing Shelton kids.
Right around here?
Yes.
Okay, so the left, so below the red bush to the left, down in this area here.
Correct. Maybe a little more to the right for your finger.
Right around
Yeah.
here?
No, left more a little bit.
Left?
Yeah, right there.
Okay,
There.
so the record can reflect, I'm pointing to the left lower hand portion of the exhibit, which is in the grass area, which is down to just slightly below and to the left of the red bush.
All right. Cordell allowed the record to reflect that. Thank you.
And when you saw the defendant and Mr. De Silva in the yard, where were they standing? Were they close to each other?
Yes, they were close.
And who was on the right, who was on the left? Do you remember?
The driveway side was Tyler Silva, and the other side was Lido Valle.
And do you recall if any of your friends had approached them?
They approached my friends, and my friends were, yes, face to face with them.
And do you recall who out of your friends were face to face with them?
So from the driveway starting, then going to the left from the driveway was Tyler Rich, then Tyler Wood, and then Ryan Hines at the time, who I believed was my brother.
And you thought Ty Woods was your brother at the time?
No, I thought Ryan Hines was my brother in that moment.
Okay. And who was Ryan Hines and Ty Wood closer to?
They were closer to Lido.
Okay. And Ty Rich, who was he closer to?
Tyler De Silva, I'd say.
And when did you observe them interacting?
Yes, they were.
What was the interaction like?
It was just talking back and forth, arguing at first.
They were arguing?
It was, yeah, they were talking. They weren't being,
Was it peaceful?
I guess so, maybe. Not really, they were just arguing, so I wouldn't say peaceful, no.
Okay. And do you recall what they were arguing about?
No, I could not hear exactly what it was.
You just saw arguing.
Yes.
And when you were witnessing the arguing, can you explain how long the arguing took place for?
For the time that I was there, it was about 20 seconds, and then there was movements.
Okay, can you describe what happens when there's movement?
Yes, so it looked as Lido Valle was to go make a punch, and then someone from Shelton threw a punch and it hit him.
Do you recall who punched him?
No, I didn't, but it was someone on the right side.
Did you say you recall watching the defendant make a move?
Yes, his body jolted like he was going to do something.
Can you show us physically what you saw? Like, can you see?
Yeah, he was like this, and then he just like went back.
He like cocked like he was
Yeah,
gonna.
it's like that. Yes.
Okay. With his right hand, he cocked with his right hand.
Yes.
Okay. Now, after you said someone from Shelton threw a punch.
Yes.
Do you know who they punched?
Do I know who he punched?
Yeah.
Yes, Lito.
Okay. And when that happened, can you describe what happened next?
Yeah, so right when that happened, I knew there was a fight breaking out. So I ran over from the mulch pile into that fight. And then as that happened, I went to the far left which was Ryan Hines was standing, and I pushed him and Lito were going at it at that moment. I pushed him and Lito away from each other, but I ended up taking his place. So now it was Lito and me face to face with each other.
Why did you run over into the fight?
Well, one, because I immediately thought he was my brother, since he was standing next to Ty Wood, who's my brother's best friend. And I knew that there was a fight going on, and I didn't want to see people fighting.
So, what did you witness about the interaction between the defendant and who you now know as Ryan Hines prior to you going over?
They were just tussling, just pushing each other, and on hand movement, no full punches.
Now, prior to you going over to push Ryan Hines out of the way, did you have a weapon on you when you went over?
No, I did not.
Now, when you went over, you thought Ryan was your brother?
Yes.
When you said you took his place?
Yes.
What does that mean? Describe what
I
happened.
pushed him and Lito away from each other, and as that happened, I kind of mostly pushed Ryan, and I was now face to face with Lito, and he was to the side of me.
Okay, so when you say face to face, if the microphone is Lito, are you like this?
Yes.
Okay, so you push Ryan out of the way with, you get in between them, push
Yeah,
Ryan
I get in
out?
between them, yes.
Now, when you push Ryan out of the way, describe what happens next.
So me and Raul had made eye contact, and he slipped back, so he was kind of down waist level with me.
So he was on a knee?
Yeah, something like that. Not a knee, but bent over.
Okay.
Like he was slipping, holding himself up. And he looked at me, and then he
All
proceeded.
right, we're going to slip at a commercial break. We'll get you back into the courtroom for more testimony when we return. Stay with us.
Brutal murders of 4 University of Idaho students.
Oh my God, this doesn't happen here.
Detectives arrested 28-year-old Brian Kohlberger.
You could tell there was some off about him. He was stalking them. He was hunting them.
Forget about motive. We don't even have a connection.
This trial will be on Court TV.
And I pray that we have justice.
The Idaho College Student Murders Trial. Live coverage begins this August, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. We'll get you back inside of the courtroom in Connecticut in just a minute. But first, let's take a look at what we have on deck. Tracking here at Court TV, we're in New York City, where the prosecution is expected to rest its case today in the sex trafficking trial for Sean Diddy Combs. The defense says they do not plan to call any witnesses, but will submit some evidence. Closing arguments are expected to begin there on Thursday, with deliberations happening Friday.
And in Florida, testimony continues in the missing boyfriend murder trial for Christopher Davis. He's accused of killing his boyfriend, although a body in this case has never been found.
We'll keep you updated on all of these trials throughout the day, but for now, let's head back to Connecticut for the Prep School Party Murder Trial. Still on the stand is victim Tommy Connery, who was stabbed in the leg and survived. Let's go back in.
Looked at me, and then he proceeded to, at the time, I thought he was punching me in the leg, which he was stabbing me.
So wait, so I want you to, can you?
You want me to demonstrate?
Yeah, let's demonstrate. Can you maybe step down your arm?
That's fine.
Okay. So if I'm you, and I'm standing like this?
Yes.
Okay.
He's like this. Like, not here like this.
1, okay, 2, 3, okay. At the time when he was hitting you in your left leg,
Yes.
did you know you were being stabbed?
No, I did not, but I felt like being punched.
Okay. And did you have any other feelings when this was happening other than being punched?
Yeah, I was able to feel almost like a sharp pop, but I didn't acknowledge it was a stab. I didn't know in the moment, but I did feel stronger than a fist.
Okay. And at that point in time when that happened and you had withdrawn, did the defendant hit you more than 4 times at that point?
Not that I know, no.
And after he hit you 4 times, what happened next?
So as he was hitting me, I was pushing him away, trying to get him to stop hitting me.
How were you trying to push him away?
Do you want me to just demonstrate
Yeah.
it? So you were on me, and I'm like this.
Yeah.
Heinz is here in this moment.
Yeah.
And I was like this. Get off. Like that.
Okay. And did the defendant move away from you at that point?
After the times he was punching me, me and him, for some reason, just separated. The fight just stopped. And I just walked back, and he walked away towards the road.
Okay, and what did you do next? Well, withdrawn. Do you recall where the defendant went to after that?
No, but he went towards the curbside.
Okay, and after you and him separated, what do you recall about the things you went through after that?
So
interaction?
in that moment, I kind of just stood there and sat around I was in shock, my body. I didn't really have anything that I fully did after that I could, recall. I was just sitting there, my body was bleeding, and I was just looking around, like trying to soak in what's going on.
Did you realize you were bleeding? When did you realize you were bleeding?
When the car eventually drove away, I realized I was bleeding.
And when you realized you were, who did somebody bring it to your attention that you were bleeding? Or?
No, I brought it to my attention because I knew it was drizzling out, but I didn't think it was pouring. And I was like, why is my leg soaked? I feel like I'm covered in water. And then I took a flashlight out from my phone and I put it on my leg. And then I realized my leg from my quad all the way down to my ankle was covered in blood. There was no skin to see and my shoes were covered in blood.
And when you realized that you were, stabbed at that point, what happened?
I immediately was like, I need stitches. And then I dropped to my right hip and laid there waiting for people to come over.
And who came over to help you when you dropped your hip?
The first person there was my cousin, Will Berardi.
Your cousin Will Berardi?
Yes.
And did he render aid to you?
Immediately, no. I was like, call 911, call 911.
And did somebody call 911?
Yes, he called 911.
And when he was calling 911, did you notice anything else about your surroundings?
So when I was on my legs, I was on my right side, laying down like this, looking up towards Will, saying, call 911. And I looked over to my left, and I saw Jimmy McGrath standing there by himself by the basketball hoop.
And what did you notice about Jimmy McGrath?
He was standing there by himself, and I was like, Jimmy, are you okay? And there was no response, but he slowly pulled up his shirt to see that he had a blood coming out. And as I looked at that, I was like, are you okay? Are you okay? And there was no response, and he collapsed to the floor. Like, he didn't put himself down, he just fell.
And when he fell, what, if anything, happened next?
People started running over to him because I was like, Jimmy's not okay. And he sat there and bled out for a while.
Now, when you were fighting, when the defendant was hitting you in the leg, did you observe any type of weapon at that point?
I saw something black in his hand, but I didn't realize it was a knife or anything. I didn't think anything of it. But I saw a hole in his hand as like a black spot. And
did you notice any of your other friends that were injured that night? Did you see any of them get stabbed?
No, I did not.
And when Jimmy fell to the ground, did you say anything to your friends with regards to helping Jimmy?
I was telling people to go help him, yes.
Okay. And did people in fact go help him?
Yes, they did.
And at some point in time, did 911, did somebody call, did first responders arrive at the scene?
Yes, first responders arrived sometime later.
And when they arrived at the scene, tell us what happened. What did you observe?
So the officer came up to me and he was asking me if I needed some assistance. And he gave me a tourniquet and he put a tourniquet on my leg, as I already had some homemade tourniquets on my leg.
Yeah, put them all in your arm. You have approach your arm?
Yes.
not necessary.
I'm going to help you.
I'll show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 77 for identification. You recognize 77?
Yes, I do.
And what is State 77?
It is me on the ground with a tourniquet on my leg and another homemade tourniquet and stab wounds.
Is this a screenshot or a picture of what your leg looked like on the night in question?
Yes, it is.
I'll show you State 73. Recognize 73?
Yes, I do.
What is 73?
That is my leg sometime later, weeks later.
And is this a good representation of what your leg looked like weeks later after the incident?
Yes.
I'll show you State 74. Recognize 74?
Yes, I do.
What is State 74?
That is my leg in November, I believe, this recent November.
Okay. And does that accurately reflect what your leg looks like
Yes.
after the post-injury in relation to this case?
Yes, it does.
State 75, do you recognize 75?
Yes, that is my leg the next morning.
The next morning after this incident?
Yes.
Okay, and does this picture accurately reflect what your leg looked like the next morning?
Yes, it does.
State 76, do you recognize 76?
Yes, I do.
And what is 76?
It is my leg a month later, still bleeding.
And does this accurately reflect what your leg looked like a month to the day after the incident on
Yes.
May 14th? State 78, you recognize 78?
Yes, I do.
And what is State 78?
That's my leg a couple days later, bruised and bleeding.
And does this accurately reflect what your leg looked like after the incident a few days later?
Yes.
State 79, you recognize.
All right, Tommy Connery going through his account of what happened, not only to him, but to everybody, and
to Jimmy McGrath,
including Jimmy McGrath. And his recounting of that, you could just see it. You know, the way he said that he lifted his shirt and then he collapsed.
He was standing at one point. I mean, you can just imagine the chaos in that moment and how hard that was for these teens, not knowing what's happening and why it's happening like this.
Yeah. Marie Prayer's watching along with us, from a defense attorney, former prosecutor. This case is a real heartbreaker, and it's just sad all the way around. Even when you look at the defense table, his conduct was abhorrent that day, going back to the car, get his knife, and come back. I know it's a self-defense case, but he went and got a weapon and came back to the fight. How big of a problem is that, Marie?
It is a big problem for him because at the end of the day, especially he's in Connecticut and they require that you do some sort of activity to retreat from the situation. And the fact that he went to get the knife, it shows he had time to think about it. He had time to get away from the situation. And at one point, he became the aggressor because he came back with the knife, and that sort of ruins your chances to say it was self-defense. You can't claim self-defense if you become the initial aggressor. Even if in the beginning you were the victim, you flip the role on yourself.
I'm thinking about some of the other cases that we've covered here on Court TV, Marie. The Apple River case in Wisconsin, right? Michael Mosley in Nashville, Tennessee, which happened in a bar situation. These brandishings of knives to stab multiple people, even when you feel that there are too many people ganging up on you, they just don't seem to work in front of a jury. At what point do you think a jury may believe, okay, you were reasonably in fear for your life against these people who don't have a weapon, but the sheer number of them is what these defendants have claimed was the reason that they felt they needed to defend themselves?
That's why on cross-examination, the defense attorney tore apart Faison, because he needed to show that Faison, although he was claiming to be a victim, he was part of the mob. And he really got him to admit, even though Faison was killing them with the DNR. I'm a nurse, and DNR means do not resuscitate. For him, it was do not recall. And he thinks he was helping the case for the prosecutors by do not recalling, but he really put a DNR, do not resuscitate, in prosecution's case. By failing to accept any responsibility, it just reinforced that mob mentality. And he even lied a little bit, testifying about what he told the police. First, he said allegedly that he was doing some kicking, and he's a big teddy bear, but a big guy. He's very sympathetic, but he admitted to kicking one of the alleged victims. So now that's a problem for him. So they are doing a good job with the defense on showing the mob mentality, which helps really the defendant here to say, hey, I was being attacked, my friend was being attacked, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, and the friend may end up being his saving grace if he can be honest on the witness stand, and if his story is, I went back to get the knife to save my friend.
Defensive
because, not that I buy it, I think he went back because it wasn't fear, it was anger. That was the controlling emotion. But if I mean, that is an element, right? You go back there because there's 30 guys and there's one in your buddy.
You want to go protect.
And let me say this too, a person could be stomped to death. Just because there's no knife committing the assault on you doesn't mean a bunch of people pouncing on you on the floor, you can't sustain a concussion and some serious injuries. So, you know, the fact that he brought the knife is not so uneven if he could prove he was being attacked by a mob.
We're going to slip in a break. Marie, stand by. We have a lot more ahead in this case out of Connecticut. We'll listen to more of this victim on the stand who was stabbed in the leg and saw the entire brawl.
Welcome back to Court TV Live along with Julia Janae. I'm Ted Rollins. We want to head back to Connecticut now and pick up the testimony in what we're calling the Preppy Party Murder Trial.
The defendant there is Raul Valle. He's expected to claim self-defense after he stabbed 4 students from a rival high school over a fight that initially began over a pack of beer. One of the students that was stabbed, James McGrath, he later died from his injuries.
Let's go back into the court now. We're listening to Tommy Connery. He was stabbed in the leg. He also was talking about James McGrath and how he fell to the ground after he lifted his shirt and everybody saw that he had been stabbed.
State 79? Where is State 79?
That's my leg in November, this recent November.
This recent November? And does this accurately reflect what the left side of your leg looks like from this past November?
Yes, it does.
It finally states 80. Do you recognize 80?
Yes.
And what is states 80?
This is my leg recent November too.
And does this accurately reflect what the, I guess, the back portion of your left leg looked like this past November? Yeah, I would offer these exhibits.
No objection.
All right, with no objection, court will go ahead and enter into evidence as full exhibit states 73 through 80. Thank you.
Now, prior to your testimony today, were you able to review a video in relation to this case?
Yes.
And that video, in reviewing that video, do you recall whether or not that video was shot at the beginning of the fight, or in the middle of the fight, or at the end of the fight?
It was middle towards end, was not the beginning.
And in your review of the video of the fight, do you know whether or not when this video starts, based on your review of it, can you determine if you were already stabbed at this point, or are you stabbed during the video or after the video?
I believe I was stabbed before the video.
Before the video starts?
Yes.
Okay. Can we just...
Yes, sir!
So when that video starts, the fight had already been going on?
Yes.
How long did the fight go on for, do you think, in total?
In total?
Yeah.
45 seconds to a minute, if that.
So if that video was about 17 seconds, there was about maybe 30 seconds that happened prior to the video starting?
Maybe a little less, 20.
Okay. Now, we just went over these pictures. I wanted to give a quick opportunity to mark. I'm going to show you them now. I'm going to show you what's been marked in State's Exhibit 77. You see 77, Tommy?
Yes, I do.
So is Was this picture taken the night that you got stabbed at Tyler Rich's house?
Yes.
And I see that there's these things on your legs here and here. Can you tell us what these are?
Yeah, so the black one is a tourniquet that was provided by the police officer.
It's right here?
Yes.
Okay.
And the one on the left, right there, that is my t-shirt.
So you took your t-shirt off?
Yes, when I went to the ground, I took my t-shirt off.
And when the cops got there, they put the top one on?
Yes.
I may have a moment, Your Honor. Tommy, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 24. That's been marked as a full exhibit. Do you see that?
Yes.
What is State's 24? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, that is my shirt, one shoe, and one sock.
Okay, you see how it looks like it appears to be ripped.
Yes.
Why is it ripped?
So at first, we only knew there was one stab wound. So what we did was my friend Brett Wadico ripped my shirt to put that one on, and then later to realize there was a lot more stab wounds, so we needed to cover them up and try to cover as many as we can.
So you took your shirt off, you wrapped part of it around you, and at some point was that left on the front lawn of 43 Little
Yes.
Okay. I just want to go through these pictures with you. This is State 73. What time of year was this taken?
This was weeks later. I would say this is probably the last week of May, 2 weeks after it.
You don't have any stitches in your leg. How come?
The doctor only gave me 2 stitches. He gave one on the really big one and then one on the top left one, because they said my wounds were too deep and they were dirty, so they could not stitch them properly.
So they wanted, what was the purpose? Do you know the purpose of leaving them on?
So they wouldn't get infected to stay clean.
State 75. When was this picture taken?
This was the next morning.
And looks like here, your left quad is affected.
Yeah, it's bulged up and swollen and bleeding.
State 78. When was this picture taken?
That's a couple days later. That's bruising and still bleeding.
State's 76.
That's
Actually has the date on it.
yeah, so that's in 1 month later and I was still bleeding in that top one.
State 79. This was taken this past November.
Yeah, so that's the entrance wound where the scar is, and then above it is the deformed quad from the actual wound right there.
So do you have an issue with your left quad as a result of this?
Yeah, it's deformed. There's no lower left part of the quad.
So do you look at yourself in the mirror and you look at your legs?
They're very imbalanced, yes.
They're very imbalanced?
Yes, the right one is bigger than the left one.
Do you work out?
Yes.
How often do you work out?
5, 6 days a week.
Have you hit legs hard?
Been trying.
Yeah? And has it made a difference as a result of this?
Nope.
State's 80. It's the rear portion of your leg. Again, scarring as a result of this incident.
Yep. And then you can see the indent
Past
too.
November.
Yep, and you could also see the indent in the leg.
And this is State 74. This is the most recent picture of your scarring. Now, with regards to